Working? Yeah, good. We'll start. We know that. Welcome. Good morning to the second day of the annual gathering 2024. What a beautiful day. What a difference from yesterday. Such a lovely, and that's why everybody's outside. So there was something really interesting nice that I experienced just a few seconds ago. I remember vividly going to Switzerland, Sarnen, in 1984 as a 19-year-old man to see Krishnamurti speak. And we took the train and we camped there along the river. So I don't remember anything what Krishnamurti spoke about at the time, but I remember like going into that tent with lots of noise, and then a few minutes before Krishnamurti started to speak, like 10 minutes, like 10 or 15 minutes, everything became quiet. Nobody said anything, nobody instructed anybody, it was just absolutely quiet. And then he comes into the tent, doesn't say hello, microphone is being put on, he speaks, then microphone goes on the floor, he walks off, doesn't say goodbye, and that was it. And 10 minutes silence again. So, and just we had it a little bit, like nobody said, but it became really quiet here, like a natural quietness, which I think is beautiful. Yes, there's a few things. Of course, we have the program of today, and I hope you're all taking advantage of the various dialogues that are going on. We have the program here that's being streamed, but besides this, there are many other things happening formally, but also many things happening informally. And that's important because what we're trying to do is bring people together who have this interest, because many of us come from far and don't have this opportunity to engage with other people who have questions in this direction. And so I feel that's one of the biggest benefit of creating this event, to bring people from all over the United States together who have this interest and who are keen to discuss that and explore that with other people. So, yeah, so the two things that I want to say before I say something about the program, and yesterday when I opened, I try to somehow bring out what I understand is the most important aspects of, I think there are two most important aspects of Krishnamurti's teaching, but one was how conditioning is influencing and determining our thinking and consequently also our action. And that is the narrative self, I who think I'm doing this and I who think I'm going to do this, is a very superficial layer on top of a whole unconscious reservoir that's coming up into the now. And now in the panel discussion after, I don't think if we were as clear as I think we should be, because Krishnamurti says something very unusual there. So yesterday we said, okay, unless we have the possibility of becoming aware of how the unconscious and the conscious is coming into the now and see that, unless that capability is there, we will just be enslaved by that, right? By the thoughts that come up, and also consequently by the feelings and the whole emotional response and the dopamine and the serotonin and whatever the whole neurological arsenal that our brain has. So that's one angle. But then, and I feel that's what Krishnamurti more or less meant by observer is the observed. We think that we can observe objectively, independently our thinking. But we can't, we already have assumed certain things to be true. So whatever we see is coming from a certain perspective, a certain framework. That's what I jokingly said. I say to you Biden, or I say to you Trump, and you see that's a visceral reaction, and from that you cannot even look at the other person's point of view. It's incapability, especially when the emotions are high. So, but then in the discussion afterwards, and I think that's a very unusual point, because one way of looking at it is, okay, I'm conditioned, I have my personal experiences, I have my childhood experiences, I have my early childhood experiences, I have my cultural background, etc., and that's all coming, and I'm going to work at it step by step, problem by problem, influence by influence, and gradually I get less conditioned. And so that's a scenario that's often proposed, and that's also a scenario which we intuitively think that's the way to go. You know, if you have that reservoir of conditioning, you have to work at it, and every time you're gonna get a little bit freer from it. And Krishnamurti somehow categorically says that's not the case. That's intuitively really difficult to feel one's way into it, because we think that what we are, you cannot just step over that. Now, I mean, one way that I propose to look at that, and I think, you know, I'm of course paraphrasing Krishnamurti, and I'm trying to work my way through it, is that he says, well, if you can see the conditioning coming up in the moment, of course, it's only relevant when it comes up in the moment. If you can see that, you can be free of it. And it doesn't take time. And you don't have to redo it, or, no, it's the only thing that counts is the freedom in the moment, and it doesn't have continuity, and it doesn't have a past. So I feel that aspect of no time, which makes it possible for freedom to come into being, and the observer in the observed, these components are maybe the most important fundamental aspects of Krishnamurti's teachings, maybe even the unique aspects of Krishnamurti's teachings. Maybe other people have said something similar, but might not have gone in the same depth on those two aspects as Krishnamurti has gone. And I feel that the whole aspect of time is often lost, because we are so programmed to be gradual. We're so programmed of, I'm going to look at one issue at a time, that it's almost like it's outside of our scope of possibilities. It's outside of the realm of what we consider to be possible. So, one book of Krishnamurti is the impossible question. I think that's the thing, you know. I think you ask the impossible question, and then maybe there's an opening that we cannot predict, we cannot anticipate, we cannot even speculate on, because it's outside of what we know. So, there are several programs today. So the formal programs here are, firstly, John Duncan is going to speak after me. And then in the afternoon, there's a program of the Oak Grove School. And then at the end of the day, I think it's about 4 o'clock, for those who are interested more in the organization and what the KFA is doing and what the center is doing, we have a small get-together here and talk about the KFA. So that's the flow of the day. And there are several dialogues. If you want to participate in dialogues, I don't think everybody got it yesterday. You have to sign up at the booth. And there's lunch at 1, and most of you found the lunch yesterday. The lunch tickets at the booth where you can go. I have the honor of asking Scott to play the next piece. Thank you.